Now the PMP exam is made up of a total of 180 questions. 175 out of the 180 are scored. 5 of the questions are not scored, but then you will not know which questions are not scored. So you just know you are answering 180 questions in a total allotted time of 230 minutes. So what is a project? It's a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or a result. Projects are different from operations. Projects have a definite beginning and end. Operations do not have a definite end. They are ongoing work that sustains the business organization. Project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities in order to achieve the purpose for which the project was initiated. Then we could have progressions from projects all the way to programs to a portfolio in an organization. So we speak of programs when we have 2 or more related projects being managed together to derive a certain form of benefit. Example, resource sharing across projects. Then we will need a program manager who will be the one the individual project managers will report to. Okay, and then in an organization that has a certain strategic business goal, all the projects and the programs that are contributing to that specific goal will form part of a portfolio. And in that situation, we'll have a portfolio manager who will be the manager of the program managers and the project managers that are part of that particular portfolio. Projects are initiated for various reasons, and they will fall within any one of these, either a market demand or a business need, a customer request, technological advance, a legal requirement, a social need, or an environmental consideration. The project management office is a department that is responsible for managing the projects being performed by the organization. The PMO is a standard name. Other companies may have their own unique names, but the PMO is responsible for making recommendations, managing shared resources across projects, and also giving support and assistance to project managers in diverse ways. In the managing of a project manager may be confronted with constraints. These are factors that limit the options that are available to the project manager. So we could have factors like schedule, cost, risk, scope, quality, resources, and customer satisfaction, which are all constraints. They are constraints because they put a certain limit on how far the project manager can go. And the project manager will have to ensure a balance between all the project constraints in order to deliver a successful project. And usually trying to overcome one constraint will result in a change in another constraint. So, for example, if the project is constrained by schedule, you are given a certain time frame to finish the project, so it's a constraint, and you are running out of time. And so you want to change the schedule. You want to compress the schedule, for instance. It may affect cost. You may need to increase the cost, or it may increase the risk. And so if you're trying to change one, it will definitely affect another. So what you need to do is to maintain a balance as a project manager. Stakeholders are people, organizations who are actively involved in a project or whose interests may be positively or negatively affected by the performance of the project. So stakeholders may include people from the organization, customers, the sponsors, or in fact, sometimes the general public are all stakeholders. Now, the type of organizational structure affects the way projects are managed in that organization. There are several kinds. There are several kinds of organizational structures. It's more than 3 actually, but the 3 most common are the functional, the projectiles, and the matrix organizations. There are various variations that exist today. Functional organization is the most common form of organization. It's an organization that is grouped by different areas of specialization, such as production, marketing, engineering, accounting, IT, and so forth. Each department usually will handle its own projects independent of other departments. And the project manager has very little or no authority in this kind of organization. All authority rests with the functional manager or the head of department. Okay. But the projectors organization is one that is organized by projects. So the project manager has full authority. In this type of organization, the staff report directly to the project manager when the current project being worked on is over. A team member will need to be assigned to another project, else there is no work to do. So usually staff are employed on contract basis as per the terms of a project that is available. And so when the project is over, the contract ends, and either the staff moves on or is transferred to another project. The matrix organization blends the characteristics of functional and a projectized organization. Power is shared between the project manager and the functional manager. And depending on the level of power sharing, we can have a weak matrix, a strong matrix, and a balanced matrix. If the project manager has more power, it's a strong matrix. If he has less power, it's a weak matrix. If power is shared equally, then we are talking about a balanced matrix organization. Okay, and in a weak matrix, the role of a project manager is more of an expediter or a coordinator. Life cycle is a progression through the different stages of development. So we could have a product life cycle, which begins with the conception of the product and ends with its withdrawal. We could have several projects arising within one product life cycle. Now, but a project life cycle involves the methodology, the approach being implemented from project initiation to its closure, and every industry may come up with a different methodology for its project life cycle. Large projects may be divided into smaller sub-projects for ease of management and better control, and these are known as project phases. Economic models for project selection. So we want to look at some considerations that are made before one project is selected over another, in case an organization is not in the position to take advantage of all available opportunities, but we want to take the most beneficial opportunity out of a number of options. So one method of making such a choice is to use the net present value. Okay, so the present value of the benefits that you accrue from the project minus that of the cost will give you the net present value. So if this value is positive, the investment is good. If it's negative, the investment will lead to a loss. So if you are choosing among a number of projects, the project with the greatest NPV value is more profitable, and so is selected. You could also use the internal rate of return. This one looks at the rate of returns on a project, and you are looking at your project like an investment that is returning a certain amount annually, for instance. So if the internal rate of return is higher, then that project is more profitable. Okay, so in choosing among a number of projects, the project with the greatest internal rate of return is selected. You could also look at a payback period to make a choice. So the payback is the length of time it will take to recover your investment in a project. So in choosing among a number of projects, the project with the least payback is desired. Then you could use a benefit cost ratio. This one compares the benefits to costs. You want to see a ratio greater than 1 as a good investment. So if you are choosing among many projects, the bigger the value, the better. But if you, because it's a ratio, you could have so many projects giving you the same ratio. And in that case, you may have to use other factors to decide which is more profitable. So if you have 2 projects to choose from and you select one over another, the value of the one that you did not select is an opportunity that is given up. And so it's known as opportunity cost. Now I want to look at the project management processes. So a process is a set of interrelated activities that is performed to achieve a predefined outcome. So processes are basically what the project manager is doing to manage the project. And there are 3 characteristics of every process. We have inputs, we have tools and techniques, and then we have outputs. Okay. So processes are grouped into 5 categories known as process groups. And the process groups are initiating, the planning, executing, the monitoring and controlling, and then the closing process groups. The processes can also be grouped into 10 knowledge areas. These are integration, scope, schedule, cost, quality, resource, communications, risk, procurement, and stakeholder. So we could look at the processes as belonging to the 5 process groups or as belonging to the 10 knowledge areas. And we said earlier that each process has 3 characteristics: to take inputs from some references. There will be tools and techniques that could be applied to those inputs, and then it will result in the creation of outputs. Now, the enterprise environmental factors are common inputs to a lot of the processes. And these refer to both internal and external environmental factors that influence a project's success, could be positive or negative in its influence. So examples are organizational culture, the structure, the processes, systems, infrastructure, existing human resources, and then marketplace conditions. These are all conditions which are internal and external that could affect the success of the project, and they are known as enterprise environmental factors. They are inputs to most of the processes in project management. Then we have organizational process assets. These refer to any process-related assets, okay? So these are assets and strictly from the organization involved in a project that can be used to influence the project success. So it is the choice of the project manager to make use of those assets to influence the success of this project, okay? So examples are policies, procedures, processes, guidelines, lessons learned, historical databases. We also have templates, old project files and documents, and so forth. All these are assets available for use to help your project success. Okay, so the enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets are common inputs to most of the processes.